The internet has created a environment where people think they don't have to be civil as they would in person. And the reason is they can hide behind their email.
Hey, podcast listener, you're about to discover insider tips, tricks, and secrets to making more sales and converting more prospects into customers with email marketing. For more information about the Email Marketing Podcast or the Autoresponder Guy, go to dropdeadcopy.com/podcast. Hey everybody, it's John McIntyre here, the Autoresponder Guy, and it's time for episode 33 of the Email Marketing Podcast, where we talk about the top tips, tricks, and secrets for making more sales and growing your revenue with email marketing. Now, today's a very special day. It's Christmas Eve, so I want to wish you a very Merry Christmas. I hope wherever you are, you're with family, with friends, having a great meal, unwrapping some presents, and of course, getting your weekly dose of email marketing wisdom. I'll be taking a few days off this week to relax and enjoy the fruits of the year, I think. Now, today I'll be talking to Bob Bly with a 30-year track record as a top freelance copywriter. Bob's been dubbed America's top copywriter by McGraw-Hill and praised by the legendary ad man David Ogilvy. So he's when it comes to copywriters, he's up the top. He's a bit of a boss. And so today's going to be a great episode. If you listen to the entire episode, you'll discover how Bob Bly, how one of America's top copywriters, writes emails. So this isn't just run-of-the-mill internet marketing advice. This is from top-of-the-top copywriter, this is top-of-the-top copywriting information. So you can apply the same methodology and mindset of Bob Bly to create your own powerful, profitable email sequences. You'll hear about weird mistakes business owners make with email, and of course, how guys like Bob Bly correct them. Plus, how to tap into your inner copywriter, crush writer's block, and get what's in your head into your email so your subscribers trip over themselves to give you money. To get the show notes for this episode of the Email Marketing Podcast, go to dropdeadcopy.com/33. Now, we have another 5-star review, and I really want to read this out today because it's a great review, and not just for the review, but for the story that comes with it. Because there's a huge hit of motivation and inspiration to anyone who's listening to this podcast. After you've heard this review, you're going to want to go out and start using what you've learned. So here it is. It's from Wes Monk from the United States. I met Wes about a month or two ago at a conference. He's an awesome guy. 5 stars. I listen to every podcast, sometimes twice. Thanks for doing this podcast, John. Here's a quick story for review readers. I am a raving fan of this podcast and the McIntyre method. I started listening to the Autoresponder Guy with big plans to launch a long autoresponder campaign. About 1/4 of the way through writing my first autoresponder, I noticed something that changed in my marketplace, something that could harm my customers, and they were at risk. I needed to get an email out to them quickly, and I needed them to open it, read it, and respond to it in order to purchase a product that would help mitigate the risk. So I sat down and I applied what I had learned up until that point, and I sent the email. That email grossed my company $70,000. It made me a hero, and most importantly, it mitigated this potential risk for my most important customers. This podcast and the McIntyre method have changed my business. Thank you so much, Wes, for just telling that story there. I think it's such a great story because it just shows that what can happen when someone takes the information in this podcast, in the emails I'm sending you, and applies it. This is what can happen. So if you're listening and you're wondering, or you just haven't gotten started yet, or you're wondering what's going to happen when you start implementing this stuff, get ready for some good results. This stuff works. So that's today's daily dose of motivation, email marketing motivation. Now, the last thing before we get into the interview is I got a question. Should I do a podcast on New Year's Eve? So today's Christmas. In 1 week's time, it'll be New Year's Eve, and I'm sure that everyone's going to be off to parties and barbecues and picnics with family and friends. But I'm sure that there's got to be a few people who want to learn about email marketing on New Year's Eve and get a jump on the new year with their New Year's resolutions for their business. So if you'd like to have a podcast episode to listen to on email marketing on New Year's Eve, send me an email, john@dropdeadcopy.com, post a comment on the site, or send me a tweet. And I'll make sure that you have your weekly dose of email marketing wisdom. Now, enough of all that. Let's go get into this interview with Mr. Bob Bly. It's John McIntyre here, the Autoresponder Guy. I'm here with Bob Bly, another famous freelance copywriter and marketing consultant. He has over 30 years or 3 decades of experience in business-to-business, tech, and direct marketing. Now, he's written copy for over 100 clients. He's the author of 70 books. Well, that's a lot of books, including the Copywriter's Handbook, which David Ogilvy is quoted as saying that he doesn't know a single copywriter who wouldn't improve by reading this book, including himself. So check that out if you get the chance. And today we're going to talk about how Bob frames up the email writing process. So you're going to be able to see how a pro copywriter thinks about writing emails and kind of where the inspiration comes from, down to the nitty-gritty of what do you write. So we'll get into that in just a minute. How are you going today, Bob?
Good, John. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm really good. Just ate dinner. Feeling good. Now, before we get into it, give us a quick background on how you got into marketing and basically a background on who is Bob Bly.
Well, my background is unusual. I went to college and got a BS in chemical engineering. And when you're an engineering major, companies come on campus and interview you. And I had one interview where the guy mentioned, he says, we're looking for writers. It was Westinghouse. We're looking for writers that have a technical background. And I had always liked writing. I was on the college newspaper, which was a daily newspaper. So I went for that interview, liked the boss, and took that job. And it was really not technical writing per se. It was marketing communications, ads, press releases, brochures, and a lot of video scripts. And I liked it and took another job later in marketing communications, really advertising, and said, when that company asked me to relocate halfway across the country, I said no. And I said, what could I do as a freelancer? And I figured I could write the copy. And that's how I got started.
Okay, so it sounds like you just fell into it. You didn't say start out and go, I'm going to be
totally fell into it. I had no intention. I never took a marketing or advertising course in college. So I had no intention. I didn't even realize it was like a profession until these guys interviewed me.
Okay. And what made you, when you kind of got to that point, what made you kind of, grab the ball and really think this is something I'm going to make a career out of? Did that ever happen, or did you just keep kind of rolling?
No, that did happen, but I got into it because of all the things I did as an advertising manager, from buying media space to supervising art direction. I really liked the copywriting. And I knew the month I got into it, which was February 1982, I became a full-time freelancer. I said, this is great. I love it, and never looked back.
Okay, great. So one thing I think is cool about that story is that, you've written for some really big clients and a lot of clients too. And you don't have that. I mean, you have a lot of experience, but you kind of come from a background where you didn't start out as there's no marketing degree or anything like that. And I think that's just a great example of how you don't need to be some amazing, literary critic or, with an English major or anything to be a good copywriter. You just need to figure out what to say, and anyone can do that. To
be fair, though, even though I didn't go to college for it, I became obsessed with finding first editions of all the classic marketing books by Ogilvy, Caples, Sackheim. And I lived in New York at the time, so I would scour the used bookstores, find them, and just study them religiously.
Okay, fantastic. So now a lot of that stuff's it's very relevant to the sales copy stuff, but let's talk about specifically, how do you think about email copywriting or writing for emails? What's the kind of the big picture in your opinion?
That my messages to my list fall into two categories, either a sales message or a content message.
Okay, so pure content. When you say content, are you talking about soft information, which would be kind of vague generalities about something, or hard information?
Either. It doesn't matter. If the subscribers like you, they'll be interested in both the hard information, but also the soft information. And that is one thing that I think sets email marketing apart from old school marketing, is that the readers seem to be, for reasons I can't figure out, very interested. If they're getting regular emails from John McIntyre or Bob Bly or Ben Settle, they're very interested in your personal life and what you do and what you think. I would say that half of my content messages are soft and half are hard.
I really love that about email, how you can pull a story out of your day-to-day life, and it could be the most ordinary story, but if you can tie it in a little bit to some sort of marketing message or just an idea that's relevant to them, they're more than happy, that they really feel like they're engaged with you. It's not like a blog or like a blog post or a site like that where they're interacting in a public atmosphere. Like email is such a personal medium, and you can really write. Well, you should be writing. People should be writing like it's that personal medium, like they're addressing a single person.
I agree with that. And that has always been a rule of copywriting. In my career, when I started as a staff writer for that Westinghouse company in, I think it was June 1979, you really are writing as if you were talking or sending a personal letter to one individual.
So before we go a little bit deeper, I'm wondering, what do you think? You work with a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs and newsletters and different clients like that. What are some of the mistakes that people are typically making when it comes to writing emails? Are they writing the wrong type of things? Are they formatting them wrong? What are the big mistakes?
I would say the biggest mistake is, and this is my opinion, is there's a tendency, especially among people selling advice on internet marketing, to be very boastful and to brag a lot. And I believe it turns readers off. For example, I was at a copywriting conference, and one of the speakers was a big name in internet marketing. And the whole speech was just talking about his house and his cars and how rich he is, and you can be rich too. And I polled informally the audience afterwards. Literally half loved it and half hated it. And so if you're a braggart, you'll automatically turn off half your list before you even get started. And that's not a good strategy.
Right. I thought about something recently, which is with these, big time internet marketers, they'll often tell stories, or even just entrepreneurs. When you ask people about how they're so good at business and that kind of thing, there's usually that story where, I was kind of like a bit of a natural entrepreneur. I was 12 years old and I was selling lemonade, and it just kind of took off from there. And I think what a lot of people don't understand, when they say things like that, the average person doesn't actually have those experiences. So when they say those things, they break rapport with the audience, because other people, the average person is thinking, well, I could never be like that. And therefore there's no point buying this guy's product or getting involved with him any further because he's special.
Yeah, I know. I believe that 100%. Once I was shared the stage, or not shared, I spoke at a conference, and the speaker after me was a very top successful multi-millionaire marketing consultant. And in the ratings, and he was great. He was a great speaker. And in the ratings, I was rated significantly higher. I don't think my speech was better. I said to the conference sponsor, they can relate to me more, because he talks about, again, his, 8-figure net worth and making all these big deals. And they just can't imagine doing that. They see me and they say, I could do that.
Okay. So it sounds like the lesson here then is that you got to be someone in your emails that people can relate to, not some, big bloated expert. You don't have to impress them. You just have to be real.
Yeah. I mean, I said a lot of people brag and boast. I take the opposite approach, not deliberately, because that's how I am. I'm very humble and self-effacing.
Okay. Give me an example.
I did an email once to my list that began, I'm not good at most things. People love that right away. They can identify, because everybody thinks, well, I'm not good at most things either. That would be one example.
Okay. Is there another mistake that comes to mind when people are doing email?
Here's a big mistake. Thinking that the email writer thinks that he and his email are much more important to most of his subscribers than it actually is. They announce an affiliate contest or a big product launch, and the tone is that you've just been waiting for this and now you're going to be happy. A lot of people don't even remember. Some people don't even remember who you are, and a lot of subscribers just don't care about you that much. And you should start from that. You should understand that it's still an old rule of copywriting is the reader doesn't care about you and your problems and your ego. They care about their own fears and desires and goals. The internet email has made people care more about the marketer, but still the primary interest is in their needs and problems, not yours.
Right. I'm reminded of that old, I think it's Robert Collier, how the quote where you got to meet people or enter the conversation that's already going on in their head. So that, in the case of email, that would mean thinking that these people, they're, maybe it's, 8 a.m. They've just woken up. They've just gotten to the office and they're opening their computer up, opening their inbox to kind of get started. And they see an email from a company who obviously sells something, because it's usually pretty obvious that the marketing emails are marketing emails, even if they are content. And that's the frame that people are opening their emails. They're wary, especially these days with so much spam flying around. They're wary. They're cautious. They've got emails from their parents, from their brothers, their sisters, their kids, if they've got kids. And a sales email or even a content email from someone who might sell them something in the future just isn't that important. So it helps to start from there, is what you're saying.
Did you say that originated with Robert Collier? Because Clayton Makepeace, who's one of the top copywriters in the world, teaches that in his copywriting talks and programs. I always thought that it was original to him, but you're saying Collier said that?
I'm pretty sure Collier said that in the Robert Collier letter book. That was one of his main things of entering that conversation. Yeah. Another
mistake I think new age internet marketers make is they haven't read all those books because they think they're irrelevant. And quite the contrary, the classic marketing books, while they knew nothing about the web or the internet or email have a lot of wisdom to teach you.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. When I first, started doing copy, I found that post on it's the page on the Gary Halbert newsletter website about, what to read. Well, here's how to become a great copywriter in 30 days. And here's a list of books and here's the sales letters you should write out by hand. And I could only find, I think about half, maybe just over half. But there was about 8, 9 books. I couldn't find all of them, but they're all old. Some of them were from 1930 and 40, things like scientific advertising. But I found those books so much more valuable than going and buying the latest internet marketing product or the latest, marketing bestseller that's on Amazon or the New York Times.
I totally agree with that, by the way.
Okay. Are there any other mistakes that come to mind? I feel like this is a great way to kind of drill down into what really works, is to kind of tell people what they're doing wrong.
A lot of times I see emails, especially sales emails, where the copy starts with the product. It says something like, and I hate this expression, "Hey gang, we just want to let you know about Butterfly 702." You should not start with the product. You should start with the prospect, i.e., are you sick and tired of your 9-to-5 job? Do you envy those who don't have to get on the bus and go to work in the morning while they stay home, cozy in their houses, drinking coffee? You want to always start with the prospect, not with the product. And a lot of people do it the other way around.
Okay. I thought it was funny. You just said, "Hey gang," that's one thing that no one should be saying in their emails is "Hey gang" or "Hey guys" or "Hey friends," because it comes back to this personal medium that if you're saying "Hey gang," the person's not going to feel special. But if you're saying "Hey name" or just, hi, it's so much more real and personal, like you're having a coffee in a nice little coffee shop.
Yes, I agree with that.
Okay, so you mentioned earlier about how that 50% should be sales and 50% should be content. How do you figure out, when should you be sending content? When should you be sales? Should it be like, one sale, one content, one sale, one content?
That's exactly what I do. I alternate. People don't want to get from you 2 sales messages in a row.
Okay, so you will go like, are you doing this on a daily basis, on a Monday?
I do it. People think that I'm publishing daily. I publish 4 messages a week. Monday is sales. No, I'm sorry. Monday is content. Tuesday is sales. We skip Wednesday. Thursday is content. Friday is sales. Although it's often Fridays, not my products, but offering something that an affiliate has asked me to offer.
Okay. And when you sit down to write, say, a content email, do you have a list of ideas that you've built up over a while, or are you sitting down and doing kind of like a Jay White and saying, "So I was driving through the traffic the other day and, this happened"? Or do you have, do you say like, "Well, today is going to be a connection email," or "Today is going to be a benefit gain email"?
I never plan it that way. I'm sort of like Jay White, but I have a little gimmick. In each issue of my emails, every email, sales or content, there's a little thing at the bottom that says, if you have something you want to know or want to answer to a question, email Bob, and it gives the email address. And I probably do at least a third of my emails just answering those questions, the ones that I think are universal to the majority of my subscribers. And so I don't have to think of ideas. I just begin those emails. JL said in a recent email to me, and I quote a concise version of what the problem was. And then I say, "Well, here's what I told JL," and I give the answer.
Oh, that's great. People really need to be building these feedback loops into their marketing, into their emails, into the website, their blog. I just set up a survey, I think it was the last kind of few weeks. And, it was wonderful. It set up as 8 questions with SurveyMonkey and, sent it out to the list. And I got, I think it was a whole bunch of replies. And it's just so valuable when you see other people's words and your prospects' words, what they want to hear about, what their problems are, what their questions are, what their feedback is. You can kind of create this laser focused content it's like guaranteed to resonate with them. It's amazing.
Plus, people love giving their opinions. That's why I think Facebook is so popular. But again, when you're an email marketer, those opinions relate specifically to things you have said or things that are related to the topic that you email about. So very valuable.
Now, are you doing these in an autoresponder where you have like 90 days, or are you just sitting down at the start of every week and writing more emails?
I do them fresh all the time. They are not in an autoresponder. And I'm usually a couple of weeks in advance. So if God forbid I miss a week or two, we have messages lined up, but they're sent manually by my marketing assistant.
Okay. And it never ends. That's just part of your routine is you write these emails every single week, week after week.
I could go back to the original, and I have hundreds of them in inventory and recycle them via autoresponder. But I like it to be fresh. I like if there's a development in marketing, if I see something, I like to be able to make them original. So, I don't inventory or offer a stockpile of old messages.
Okay. And you obviously believe in never stop following up. Sounds like you're doing this continually. You're either sending some autoresponder messages or you're just sending the new emails. You never stop sending messages.
Yes, but in terms of follow-up, I also answer every question or response I get via email. I don't ignore them. And the subscribers really like that. If it's a complicated question, I may even pick up the phone in some instances and call them. And that blows them away.
That's a really cool idea. Okay, so you mean anyone listening to this could go and sign up to your list, see what you're sending out, and if they had a question, they could just hit reply to it, and you would personally respond to them, or maybe even call them if it was a question worth calling about.
I will respond to them, with a specific question, like, and I'm making this up, like, is SEO worth doing or something like that, or they want to know, how do I advertise on Facebook? But I can't answer a question that would fall into the category of consultation. Like someone will say, I'm selling a widget. How do I market that? And I'll email back politely. That's a little bit more than I can answer. I can't answer it in a short email. I could go on all day about this. Typically, if I have written a book on the topic, I'll say, I think you should read the Do-It-Yourself Marketing Handbook, which you can buy on Amazon.com.
Okay, so you're not just blindly answering their questions.
Well, no, I answer them. I always tell people I'm happy to answer at no charge short questions, simple questions. But here's another one I get. Here's my URL, Bob. Would you look at my website and give your opinion? No, that's something I charge for. I don't have time to review your website. So we might send them a link to the page on my site where we describe our copy review critique service.
Okay. Now, just quickly, let's talk about the sales emails. When you do these emails, do you start off, are they obviously sales emails from the get-go, or are you just writing them like a content email and at the end there's a link or two to the product?
I believe, and I like, although there are other formats, the problem solution format. So the beginning is about, like you said with Robert Collier, the conversation they're already having in their head. I did one very successful email for a product I have on getting started in internet marketing. And I think the first sentence, I don't have it in front of me, are you sick and tired of, and then I listed some of the crappy things about having a 9-to-5 job. So I start with the problem. And often people reading it will not know that it's a sales message. If I can, I like to embed something in the start of the email that they're actually learning something, even if they don't buy my product. Like I have a course in how to sell your book to a major publishing house. And I say to them, if you want to sell your book to a major publishing house, don't write the book. Instead, write a book proposal. And then I explain what it is. So they're learning something valuable, even if they don't order the product.
Okay. So it's kind of like always help people with your marketing. So like make people better off with your marketing, even if they don't end up buying the actual product.
If you can, yes. You can hint that your product promises to make them better off, but sometimes you can give them a free sample right in the email. Another thing I do on many of my landing pages, my product websites, I have short video clips of me giving seminars. So I say, if you want to learn this technique, go to this website right now. You can watch a video. You don't have to buy anything. That's very effective.
Okay, great. And how long are these emails that you send? Are they 200 or 300 words, or are you doing longer ones?
The sales ones are short, I would say in the range of 200 to 300 words. The content email messages are longer. They're in the range of 500 to 700 words.
Okay. And your sales emails, they link to a sales page or to an order?
They always link to a sales page. And that link is not just at the end of the email. It's right at the beginning.
Okay. So you're opening the email. Are you saying so? Because you might say something like, "Well, are you sick and tired of going to work every day, clocking on, working for a boss that doesn't appreciate you?" Are you putting the link before that or after?
Yeah. The next line might be, "Well, there's a better way," and the link, and then the next paragraph. What I'm talking about is start and run your own internet marketing business. So I structure the beginning so I can integrate a link right up front, and then I come back to the link at the bottom, and often I do the link a third time in the PS.
Okay. Now, do you ever get angry emails or people who complain?
All the time. Not people who bought the products, but people who disagree with me, think I've said something wrong. It's amazing. People who think I send too many emails. I've been cursed out, and I say, why do you have to act like that? Just unsubscribe. I think anyone who's who does a lot of internet marketing to a large or medium-sized audience, you're going to get criticism. I don't know why, but the internet, I do know why. The internet has created a environment where people think they don't have to be civil as they would in person. And the reason is they can hide behind their email. I always laugh when I get an email that's very critical and the signature file, the address is below, it's blank. There's no address, there's no phone number. And very brave to do that when I can't call you and confront you. So, it's cowardly in a way.
So it sounds like you have fun with them. You don't worry about them or you're happy to be sending often because you know that's what works. You don't let the bad prospects who don't like your emails tell you how to run your business.
I tell them once that I politely disagree with you, and here's what I believe is the truth. And if they argue with me, I said, well, I can't convince you, but from experience, I know what I'm saying is right. It's your judgment. I don't get into protracted arguments with them.
Fantastic. Okay, man. Well, we're just right at time. So this has been really helpful. I love how detailed this has gotten. So thanks for that. But before we go, tell people where they can find you. Maybe talk about one of your books or something like that, and then we'll say goodbye.
Here's the best way to find me. It's at www.ly.com. My books are all available on Amazon.com, and the best book for copywriting is my book, The Copywriter's Handbook.
Okay, wonderful. So I'll have links to your site and that book on Amazon on the podcast website, dropdeadcopy.com, so people can go there and get the links if they want. Thank you for your time, Bob.
My pleasure. It was very enjoyable.
Hey everybody, thanks for listening. If you want to discover more insider tips, tricks, and secrets about driving sales with email marketing, sign up for daily email tips from the autoresponder guy. Go to dropdeadcopy.com/podcast. Sign up, confirm your email address, and I'll send you daily emails on how to improve your email marketing and make more sales via email. You'll find out why open rates don't matter and the 7-letter word that underlies all effective marketing and much more.
The editing and production of this podcast were provided by Authority Engine. Learn more at authorityengine.com.